Have you ever used a phrase like heads will roll, or talked about something reaching a tipping point? Well, you might be surprised to hear that you're actually speaking the language of revolution, a language that was forged in the fiery streets of Paris more than 200 years ago. Today, we're going to dive into one of history's most epic events to see how the French Revolution didn't just change the world, it actually changed the very words we use.
Okay, so let's set the scene. I want you to picture it. Paris, 1789. The city is just electric. It's a total pressure cooker. For years, this desperation has been simmering just below the surface. The people are hungry, they're angry, and they feel completely and utterly powerless. A whole society built on centuries of tradition is about to crack wide open. So, how did France get to this point? Well, the country was basically a powder keg, just waiting for a single spark. Let's break down exactly what made it so explosive.
And look, these things weren't happening in a vacuum. They were all connected, creating this perfect storm of misery. France was basically bankrupt, partly from helping fund the American Revolution. Then, you add years of bad harvests and the price of bread. I mean, the main thing poor people ate just skyrocketed. All the while, the common people are getting crushed by taxes, but King Louis XVI and the nobility, they're living in this unbelievable, out-of-touch luxury. You can just feel the resentment building, right?
This chart right here, it just lays out the core problem so perfectly. See, French society was split into three groups, or estates. You had the first estate, the clergy, and the second, the nobility. Together, they're just 2% of the population, but they held pretty much all the wealth and all the power. And the third estate? Well, that was literally everyone else, 98% of the people. And they had almost zero say in how their own country was run. Can you even imagine the frustration?
So with all this pressure building and building, you just knew something had to give. And a few key events in the summer of 1789 became that tipping point, that one critical moment where the dam finally breaks and everything changes, suddenly and forever.
I mean, just look at how fast things started moving. In May, the king calls this big meeting, the Estates General, to try and fix the money problems. But the third estate, the 98%, they were just done with being ignored. By June, they basically declared themselves the real government of France. And by July, well, the people decided it was time to take matters into their own hands.
This moment right here is huge. They've been locked out of their meeting hall, so the representatives of the Third Estate just gathered on an indoor tennis court and took this powerful oath. And you have to understand, this was a totally radical act of defiance. They were looking the king in the eye and saying, "We are the government now, and we are not leaving until we have a new constitution that guarantees our rights." Okay, now let's talk about the Bastille. This thing was this massive, scary-looking medieval prison that just loomed over Paris. But it wasn't just a building. Oh no. It was a powerful symbol of the king's absolute oppressive power, his tyranny. Political prisoners were locked away there, a lot of them without even a trial. For the people of Paris, the Bastille represented everything they hated about the old system. So on July 14th, a huge, angry mob storms the fortress looking for weapons. Its fall wasn't just a military victory. No, this was a shockwave that went through the entire country. It proved once and for all that the king's power wasn't absolute. It could be challenged and broken by the will of the people. This single day is seen as the official start of the French Revolution. It was the point of no return. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for us, because this massive political earthquake didn't just create a new country, it created a whole new language. Think about it. When you're trying to build a new world from scratch, you first have to invent the words to describe it. And a lot of words we take for granted today were forged right here in the fire of this conflict. Let's start with the word itself, revolution. It took on its modern meaning right here. Before this, it could mean a lot of things, but this event cemented its definition as a complete root and branch overturning of the old way of doing things. The French Revolution became the textbook example of a radical social and political upheaval. And this is the word that fueled the fire, tyranny. This is what the revolutionaries believed they were fighting against. The Bastille was the symbol of royal tyranny,
and the people rising up was a direct response to what they felt were years and years of cruel, unfair, and oppressive rule.
So if they were fighting against tyranny, what were they fighting for? It all boiled down to these three powerful words that became their motto: liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty meant freedom from the king's control. Equality meant everyone should have the same rights, no matter who their parents were. And fraternity? Well, that meant a sense of brotherhood, of unity among all citizens.
So, what does any of this have to do with us right now? Well, because these historic moments and big ideas are literally baked into our everyday language. You are probably using expressions from the French Revolution all the time without even realizing it. For example, when we say a group of protesters decided to storm the Bastille of a big corporation, we're tapping right back into the memory of that day. The literal act of attacking a prison has become this powerful metaphor for any kind of bold, defiant move against a powerful system. Or how about this one? Heads will roll. It's a pretty common phrase in a tough workplace, right? Well, it has some seriously dark origins. It comes directly from the Reign of Terror, which was this incredibly violent part of the revolution where thousands were executed by the guillotine. The phrase became a chillingly literal reality. And that brings us back to this incredible concept, a tipping point. It's that one moment where a trend that's been building for a long time suddenly boils over and unleashes this massive, unstoppable change. The storming of the Bastille is the perfect historical example. All those years of simmering anger finally exploding into open revolution. So as you can see, the French Revolution was way more than just some dusty event in a history book. It was a true watershed moment that sent ripples across the entire globe, and you can still hear its echo today. When you boil it all down, the revolution's legacy is this. It showed that ordinary people could rise up and topple centuries of oppression. It laid the foundation for our modern ideas of democracy and human rights, and of course, it gave all of us a powerful vocabulary to talk about freedom, to demand equality, and to stand up to tyranny. And that leaves us with one last big question. The French Revolution was fought for these huge ideals, liberty and equality. As we look around our world today, it really makes you think, what are the big ideas of our time? What principles do we believe in that are so important they're worth fighting for?